to the video today. Today, we're doing a power clean tutorial. Why are we doing a power clean tutorial, though? Why is that important? There's two reasons why I think it is. Number one, the power clean has an almost unlimited potential to increase your power, that is using strength quickly. So unlike the squat and the deadlift, which is pure strength, the power clean is going to help you to utilize what strength you have faster to make you more explosive. The second reason is, so we've got that, how good the power clean is at that. And the reason why it's so good for everyone is it bridges that gap between being, it's more complex than just your average, you go into the gym and you're doing bicep curls, but it's not as complex as, say, the snatch and clean and jerk, which needs years of work put into it to perfect it. The average person who's fit can come along and start to work towards a power clean, learn it relatively quickly and get those power gains. Why am I doing a power clean tutorial? There's tons out there. Just go on YouTube. No, don't go on YouTube. Watch this. What do I think I can add to this? The reason why I'm doing it is because I have a vertical jump program coming out and I incorporate the power clean into that because I think the explosive gains you get from the power clean are so powerful that it's almost an essential. I think it's an essential in improving that vertical jump height, that explosive output. Second reason is just, it's my perspective. Perhaps I'm going to offer something different that's not out there that all the big bearded guys are doing. Maybe I've got something different to say. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is, you can come a bit closer, don't be shy, is how do we grip the bar? There's three ways you can grip the bar. Each have their advantages and their disadvantages. There is the hook grip, which involves wrapping your fingers around your thumb. This is what Olympic lifters do in competition. Well, I guess you can't really see that, but we'll get a close-up of it for you to see. The second is straps. I'll be using straps today because I have a thumb injury, but I would opt towards using the hook grip. And then we have just the double overhand grip, which anyone can do, but it's self-limiting in that once you get to a working set weight, you're going to start to be held back by your grip. And ideally, what the hook grip and the straps allow you to do is you don't have to think about your grip at all. You can just focus on the technique, the extension of the power clean. So we'll be doing straps today because of my poor thumb, but I would advise to use the hook grip. You just need to spend a little bit of time getting used to the thumb pain that starts at the beginning, but I think you'll get used to it. Alright, so we've decided on our grip. Where do we grip the bar? Come around to the side a little bit, just so you can, it's better to look at technique from the side, I think. So when we grip the bar, I'm gripping about shoulder width. Feet, the stance, again, my feet are about shoulder width, but when I come to the bar, they're inside my hands. When I get here, I like to squat down. It's kind of like my setting position. So we're not power cleaning from here, but it kind of just lets me get deep and kind of feel out the position. The set position, we're raising up. The key things to notice in the set position is my shoulders are slightly over the bar. My shoulders, there's a linear descent from my shoulders to my butt. And you'll see the main mistakes people make are from those two cues. So people are either behind the bar or their butt is too high when they're about to come up. So the reason it's important that there's that linear descent from our shoulders to down to our butt is because when we're coming up, we're driving through our heels, through our hamstrings, through our glutes, the posterior chain. It's not focused on our toes and our quadriceps, so to speak, on the front. We're driving through the heels and we're keeping the weight back but there's a balance between keeping the weight back and keeping the shoulders over the bar. The reason the shoulders stay over the bar is so that we're keeping the bar on a straight bar path that's coming straight up. If we have notice these two things complement each other. So if we have our butt too high, we're too far over the bar already. If we have our butt down, the correct linear descent, but our shoulders are behind, the bar's coming back. It's not following that straight bar path. So it's about balancing it out. So we're going straight up the middle. I'm breaking the power clean down into 3 phases today. So we're going from floor to knee, which is what we've just addressed. Then we're going knee to full extension, then full extension to rack. So let's go from the floor to the knee to start. We have our shoulder width with our grip and our stance. Squatting down just to feel out the position, getting my set position. Shoulders over bar, linear descent from shoulders down to butt. And then we're just driving through the heels up to this point here. It's basically just extending the legs up to this point. So that's the first phase. You just need to be mindful of your position and then extend the legs. So now we're at the knees. What happens now? Now we're going knees to full extension. The main things that are important in this position is, firstly, we're going from here to here. That's the aim. That's our full extension. How do we get there? We're thinking once the bar is at the knees, that's when it's not just about leg extension, it's about hip extension as well. I mean, basically think stand up tall once you're here. But the catalyst is that hips coming through. The other thing to think of, apart from the hip extension and standing up tall, we're going up on our tiptoes and we're shrugging the shoulders. And this is all holistic. This is all happening at the same time. I bet you're starting to understand why this is a bit more complex than just a biceps curl. But this isn't that hard once you put in a little bit of time. Sort this out, everything starts to tie in together. So once we're at the knee, extend the hips, shrug the shoulders, up on the tiptoes. The overall umbrella cue is to think, stand up tall. The main issues with this part of the lift is because we're from the floor to the knee, we haven't really done anything with the hips yet. When the hips come through, the main mistake people make is they thrust the hips forward. So this is an extension where we're lengthening everything out, but people, me included, mistake this for pushing the hips forwards and through. And what that does, obviously, it throws the bar out of its bar path. We want it to go straight up, and thrusting forward, like a good night out, is just sending the bar out to the club with you. So that's the second phase, and that's the main mistake to look out for. Now we're at full extension and we want to get under the bar and rack it. Look at, this is an overriding concept of when you snatch and clean and jerk, is there's very little tension in the arms. When I'm holding onto the bar, I'm gripping it, but my arms could be relatively loose. They're not stiff. Think of it like if you had a chain and you had a carabiner and you hooked it on to the bar. The carabiner is like your grip. And then you can lift it up and it's holding onto the bar, but these chains do have some slack in them. Sure, there's the tension between shoulder to bar, but that's it. They're not tense. The biceps aren't activated. Do you know what I mean? The biceps aren't going crazy. So when we're going from the full extension to the rack, for the arms, it's a relatively simple process of just, because we've created the momentum in the bar by pulling it up, we're then just getting the elbows round. And the reason why I say it's relatively easy is because now we've created momentum, we've got all that slack in our arms. All we have to think about is whipping the elbows through. If they're tense, the whole process becomes really stifled and it makes it a lot harder and, more importantly, slower to get around, which will 100% cut the amount of weight that you could potentially lift. So think about getting the elbows round fast. And the other step is a stomp. I love a good stomp. I don't think the shoes I'm wearing, these are expensive Adidas shoes, but the cheaper ones I had with a wooden base, I preferred them a lot more because when I did the stomp, it was so much more domineering in the gym. People were really intimidated by me. So it just gives you that power. It's not just a nice sound to hear. It kind of drives home the point of getting that solid base for when you're racking it. So even if the bar's a bit heavy, you're lifting quite a heavy amount of weight. If your base position is strong, aided by your elbows coming around quick, you'll be able to save it and catch it because of that base, and because when you aim to stomp, so you're not going, say, like that. This is getting your feet at a wider base with as little height as possible. Let's see it in action. We can come around to the front for this one actually, because we're just looking at the elbows coming around. I'll actually just show you a clip of my PB power clean of 120 kilos. Have a look at how quick my elbows come through in that. It's like a bullet. They're quick, and that was the main thing I was thinking of to get that. And it was successful. We've got our bar. We'll go through phase 1. So we're coming off the ground, linear descent, shoulders over bar, leg extension, drive through the heels, up to the knee. Once we're at the knee, we're going full body extension with a hip, thinking of the hip extension as the main thing. Up there, we're nice and tall, nice and long, and then from here, we're stomping, getting the elbows round quick. And then we recover. So just a few notes in this recovery position here. The main things I like to say is we want a strong chest. Pretend you could rest a beer on those puppies. That's how strong and proud we want that chest. We don't want a weak chest that has no confidence holding the bar, because this just isn't a good image. There's no technique we're looking at here. So strong, proud chest. Another one I like is I like to think to flare the lats, because it widens that base for the bar to rest on. And guess what? That's it. That's the tutorial. I've played a few clips as we've gone through of it in real time. I like to think of it as I broke it down into those steps, but they all tie into each other. And the most important overall movement cue for the power clean, or any Olympic lift for that matter, when we're Olympic lifting in the power clean through this video, we're getting faster as we come off the ground, or at least that's the aim. So we're optimizing the amount of time we have, the amount of momentum that we give the bar, so we have more than enough time to get under and rack it as high as possible. Oh, I just broke a Russian rule. That's the tutorial, guys. I think this will help. I asked you guys to send in a couple of questions that I can address at the end of the tutorial, just if you guys had any extra questions to ask. And we had a couple come in. So first one is the frequency of practicing this skill. I would advise to practice this skill when you're starting out, in particular, about 3 times a week. I think that's it's the best amount to get better at the skill, but it's also enough time to recover from the skill, because it is such a, I mean, when you're starting out, you're not lifting that heavy, so you don't need as much time for recovery. But I think just as a general bit of advice out there is 3 times a week is a good amount to aim for, because it's that balance between skill acquisition and having time to recover, central nervous system, etc. How long is the learning curve? So this is kind of what I said before. There is a learning curve, but it bridges that gap between it's not so complex as learning the snatch, but it's harder than learning how to do a bicep curl. So I would say, again, generally speaking, about 3 months. I mean, you can't say that's how it is for everyone. Someone might learn it pretty good in a week. Someone might take a year because things just aren't clicking. But I think 3 months is a good amount of time. And if that kind of puts you off, then I don't think you understand skill acquisition. So that's not to say that you'll be terrible up till the 3 month point. It's just to say allow approximately 3 months, and by that time, that's when you should be adequate enough to do something like the vertical jump program if you've never done it before. So just give yourself that amount of time. Give yourself patience. It is a semi-complex skill with really good gains. Final question, is it worth it to learn for someone who is not necessarily interested in Olympic lifting? You are an asshole, sir. You do not respect the power clean. Get off the channel. That's a good question. I think this is why you don't see the power clean as much in the gym as you would, because that is the question people ask. But I think I addressed it at the start of the video in that it's just so good for helping to develop power, that explosive output for any individual. And it bridges the gap between not being so complex as the snatch, where you really do need either coaching in person or online coaching, proper advice, but being more complex than bicep curls, that kind of thing. So yes, I definitely think it's worth it. That's why this tutorial is here. Guys, I will put a link when the vertical jump program is out if you want to check that out and incorporate the power clean into it and get all the gains of explosive energy. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you have any extra questions, comment down below and I will see you for the next one.